What's going on, everybody? This is Dan French. This is the French Workbench Podcast. We're back on a Saturday, finally. Had a few shows off.
The old Roni going around, man.
Oh, man. You know what I'm saying? This is the most real behind-the-scenes information regarding financing, real estate, money talk, entrepreneurs going on here in Las Vegas. Streaming live, I'm your host, Dan French, and I have a full studio of my co-hosts. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody out there. This is your first time tuning in. This is financing and real estate predominantly. We are going to talk about cryptocurrency, but we have a lot of good information. So let's go over and introduce Mr. Rick Rains. Rick, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Good morning, Las Vegas. Everything is great. I guess this last week, my office has been fighting the plague. I've had probably half of the office, man, fighting it, but it's all good.
Everybody's...
Dude, the Roni's going around, man.
What have you been up to, Rick? I mean, besides that, you've been working. Right now is the biggest time or the most... Busy? I would say busiest time for you this year, right?
Yeah, in a way, it's the most busiest time. My degree is actually in accounting, so... besides real estate, we have to get out all the owners' 1099s and make sure all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. Got to keep the IRS off of everybody's back.
Absolutely.
So that's what I've been pretty much involved with.
Your major was what, accounting?
My major is accounting.
And then your minor is kicking ass.
Yeah, very much so.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we also talked to Rick Rains over here about property management. You got a lot of good information about property management, right?
Yeah, I've got some stuff to talk about today.
Okay.
And stories.
Stuff.
Rick's also a realtor, too. I mean, a lot of people in this room are realtors, right, guys? So Rick's got some insight, too. So when he brings up this data, he also has some things going on. But demographics plays a part in all this. Okay, so you go back to 1981 up to 2018. You had people that were first-time home buyers. Mm-hmm. Average age for first-time home buyers was 28 to 32. Mm-hmm. Now, you're looking at the average buyer that's a first-time home buyer in today's world is 33 years old. A lot of millennials, though, are also pushing to help buy homes because we talked about how people were migrating and working from home. 23% of people still are working from home, or a family member in a household is working from home. So you look at that part of it, and then you also look at, well, millennials are actually moving back home. And the reason they're doing that is because they want to support the housing prices going up to help with their parents buying a house.
We brought up over the past couple of weeks that families are coming together, if you want to call it the children coming back in to help purchasing
or
homes.
the older
so the family lives together.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I think that's an interesting perspective that I'd never thought of, is that the American way of thinking is do it on your own, make your own success, so on and so forth.
Right.
And the millennials are waking up and finding out that in today's society, it's not that easy. It never was that easy, but it's even more difficult now, especially with the rise in prices. And so they're having to change their mindset. So to piggyback on what Dan brought up in an actual experience, and I think that this is probably happening more than I realize because I'm in property management, but we got a call. And I got a hold of Dan on it from a lady who owns her own business. She wanted to put down $60,000 and she was trying to stay within her budget, and she wanted a 3-bedroom house. Well, a couple of years ago, it was a reality.
What was her price point?
She didn't have a price point. She was trying to figure out how much she could actually buy.
Gotcha.
And when she found out how much she could buy, she couldn't do it. And so now she's having to raise her monthly rate in order to even get close to being able to try and find a 3-bedroom property. And I think a lot of people are finding that out, and that's why they're then changing to the family dynamic. Or here's another issue. This is a social issue that you may or may not be thinking about. As the builders and investors and people with bank, are moving this way, what eventually is going to happen, at least in my opinion, is it's going to make a bigger divide between those that have what's considered those that have and those that have not. Mm-hmm. What they're doing is they're basically pushing the rental agenda for the lower income, and whether or not that's a good thing, it does make more diversity between, again, those that can afford to buy and those that cannot.
Yeah. The other thing we talk about is, we know that tourism's back. We were at 3 million average a month.
Yep.
I think we're upwards of 3.5 million right? In December, I think it was close. So it shows to me that we're pretty much, I'm not going to say, we can't say this because we got to see more data, but we're back on track, right? We're back on track to pre-COVID. What were you going to say,
better.
To kind of go over statistics a little bit.
I could say by just driving the freeway that we're back.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I think too, Omicron and all these variants and things, people are just over it because
they're so done.
They're so done.
We don't have the same suburbia urban that is everywhere else in the country because we're in a freaking
you have the valley and then
we're in the valley, and if you compare the way Vegas is set up to say Phoenix, I mean Phoenix is really spread out and we're very condensed.
So let's talk about this building up versus out. Do you think Vegas, because the way it's zoned, we don't really build up? Well, a lot of people look at downtown, right? They're building up. They got condos and condotels, things like that. So would you think Vegas would start to build up because of the volume of people that are coming here?
I hope not.
You do?
Yes. Well, here's the reason. First of all, it has to do with the life expectancy or the way cities grow. So you start out in the center and you continue to move out. And as you move out, the affluent are always buying on the edges. And it keeps going out and it keeps going out until it gets to a point where the outside affluent who is working in the middle, that's going to be your CEOs and the head of the casinos, have too far of a drive to make. So it's inconvenient for them. So what do they end up doing? They end up buying and building up, just like we're seeing in the center of the city, and the less affluent then move to the outside, and that cycle continues.
Yeah, but
think about it like this. Think about it if you have a property or a building, right, that's got units, multiple units, right, and you live on top, and then you go down to to the floor, and you work on the floor. Like your job is like we see that over where Green Valley Ranch is at, where you have buildings or you have offices that are on the floor level or they're on some separate level where you can literally live above the office and then just come down to work. So I'm not saying that that's going to be, but that could be something. It's about convenience. And I think people, hey, you know what? If I can get that opportunity in the future, maybe that's something people look to do as well.
There are other people that think just the opposite. My dad was the opposite. He was a trucker. He could have trucked anywhere, and he chose to be 40 miles away from home because he didn't want to work where he lived. He didn't want to be reminded every day of the job, going to the grocery store and then you come back into that same freaking building and there's your job right there and then you go upstairs. No, he didn't want to be reminded of that.
I'm with your dad. I'm a realtor and I can't stand working from home. I got to go to the office. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about property management. Rick's going to give us some insight about what's happening with property management and I don't know. Talk to us. What's the details, Rick?
Hey, well, I'm not going to give you really any statistics today, but I wanted to piggyback off of one of our last guests that we had on with no demo mold. And we've got a situation in our office, and I found it very interesting. The tenant who is on the verge of being forced out on a 30-day, the owner wants to take the property back, put up the mold, brought up mold in order to be able to stay. So she went and did a test on her own, and of course it came back positive.
Wow, and what were the odds?
What are the odds? So we got a hold of No Demo Mold, and they went in and did a full survey with pictures and tests and all of this, and gave us pictures, showed us pictures of some mold, again on the caulking in the bathroom and some of the caulking around the water, around the water heater. And so you can see that there was mold there, okay? But when you actually did a test, a real test, one of the things that the tenant didn't do was, and I guess this is very critical, is compare the inside statistics or whatever the test is to the outside. And that was something that she did not do. And the test came back completely negative because there wasn't enough actual real problematic mold in order to...
Because there's always mold spores in the air.
There's always mold everywhere.
Everywhere.
So anyway, the point being to this whole thing is that if you're an investor and you've got a property manager, have them do the mold test in order that whatever it is that you're trying to do, you just keep staying on track.
I learned a lot from that guest. Thank you.
He was excellent.
He was great.
The other thing that has happened recently, and I got a call on this just a couple days ago, the Clark County Treasurer is putting out notifications of people who are in problematic situations with paying their taxes and that their properties are going up for potentially for sale. And so we got a call from a lady who was looking for advice. We told them, no, we can't give you advice. We're not an attorney. But from our experience, okay, her situation was, well, these people are going to have their property taken. It was on the tax ledger, so we went and we paid the taxes off. So don't we own the property? And our response was, did you buy it at a tax sale? No. Well, you just went and paid their taxes for them.
Right.
Because the
They just went and paid their taxes for
the
them.
owner showed up. The owner showed up, and he's like,
Thanks.
this is my property. What are you doing? And they said, well, we paid the taxes. It's
Oh my
like,
God.
Wait, why did they pay the taxes?
Wow.
because they thought that if they went and paid the taxes that they got the property. They didn't buy it at a tax sale. And then,
I haven't heard that one before.
that's what I'm saying.
Dude,
This
I've
is the phone call.
I've had people call me and ask me about that specific situation before. I couldn't believe it.
And of
I'm like,
course,
yeah, you think you just pay
every
someone's
state-
taxes, you get
here-
their house?
Here's the other thing.
Well, you do if they go to the sale. That's the point of the
I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
if it goes to the sale.
Well,
but
here's-
I mean,
wait a second.
It's got to be a
And this-
process, bro.
This is for the investors out there. So even if you buy a property through the treasurer at a county tax sale, almost every jurisdiction in the country has a redemption period.
yep.
Whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever it is, they can still come back. They, the previous owner, pay the taxes back, and usually there's a penalty involved where you may get a certain percentage interest on the money that you had paid, which is very minimal. But there's always this redemption period. So even if they purchase it at a tax sale, you still have to wait through the redemption period before you're actually in the free and clear. Those were the two investment pieces that I wanted to bring up today as far as being in property management, because they wanted then to have us rent the place out and so on and so forth. It's like, sorry, can't do that.
Yeah.
So
you primarily get people that are you're seeking landlords, right? You got tenants, but you're seeking landlords because that's really where your bread and butter's at.
Of course.
And if somebody's out there working or looking for somebody that's good and professional and somebody that's representable or represents them,
give us a call.
good, yeah.
Atlas
so
Group.
so one last thing is on the rents, right? We haven't seen an increase in rents, although we've seen an increase in average rents year over year. Last year was one of the highest we've ever seen. You think that pace is going to slow down this year?
I think the pace is going to slow down, but it's going to continue. It's going to continue, just like Brett and I and most everybody here thinks that the appreciation of houses are going to increase 5% or whatever over the next year. Rents are going to continue to do the same thing. So as the housing prices go, so do the rent prices.
We got to end the show. So unfortunately,
No!
yes.
No, I want to get on my soapbox
We
some
got
more.
Tuesday, we got future days. So if you guys want to tune in, we're actually going to have a very
like
nice
this closing.
woman guest, Women Power.
First time homeowner. She is. She's a
Yeah,
first time
coming
homeowner.
on the
She's
show
a
Tuesday.
millennial.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, and she, yep.
She's also your daughter.
She's in
She's-
trouble.
And I want to go around the room. I want to tell everybody, if you guys go ahead and pitch yourself, tell somebody why somebody would use you, and then also pitch your information.
This is my name is Rick Rains. I'm with the Atlas Group, and you can get us at www.property-mgmt.com. We would love to talk to you, especially if you're an investor, owner, need property management. We're on all social media, 702-916-2200.